Welcome back. In this lecture we are going to talk about CRUD. So CRUD is an acronym for four things: create, read, update, delete. And they are the four basic things that we want to do with our database. We want to create a database, we want to read the database, we want to update existing database, and we want to delete parts of database. So far we have learned how to create using insert, and also we have learned how to read using select. In the upcoming lectures we are going to learn how to update and delete. Imagine if one of our users decides to change their password. We have to be able to update their existing password in our database. And for delete we are going to learn how to remove a specific data from our database. For example, imagine one of our users decides to cancel their subscription in our website. So that's the case that we might use a delete. So before we finish with this lecture, we are going to create a new table together because I want us to be on the same page. I'm going to provide you with a couple of lines of code so you don't have to type the query yourself. You can just copy and paste. So first we are going to type drop tables employees, and then we are going to recreate employees table from scratch. So in our new table we are going to have ID, which will have auto increments enabled. Then we are going to have first name, last name, position of the employee, and then we are going to have the salary. If you want, you can just copy after me, but I suggest that you check the lecture resources and you will find this exact query, so you can just copy and paste. And after we have successfully created our new table, we want to bulk insert the list of our new employees. So let's copy and paste that. To make sure that we were successful, let's check our new table. We do that by typing select star from employees. And we can see we have our new 8 employees. So how do we read the data? So far we know that we use select to retrieve data. We already have used many times a select statement. We used select star from table name, which retrieves everything from that table. It's a good example of reading a table because we are retrieving the data that is stored in our database. Let's look at the statement that we are familiar with. So over here we have select star from employees. So the star part is we're basically saying to our database, give me all the columns that you have in this table. Sometimes we want to get all of the columns that we have, but we don't have to. We can specify what column we want to retrieve back. So for example, we can say select name from employees. So let's try retrieving just the name from our employee table. Select star from employees, and we can see that we have all of our employees. And now let's do select name from employees. And now we can see that we only get the name column from our table. And we can do the same with all of our columns. We just have to specify the exact column name that we want to retrieve from our data. Let's do one more, select salary from employees. And we can see that we only get the salary column. Okay, let's imagine that we want to retrieve the first name and the last name of our employee and their salary in a one query. So how do we do that? We write select, then we have our first name, then we add comma to separate the column name, then we write last name, comma, salary from employees. I hope now you can understand why SQL is so important, because imagine if you have a giant company with millions of workers and you have a giant data with all of their information, their address, phone number, ID number. But imagine you need to retrieve only their first name and last name and their salary, and you don't want to get all of the information that you have stored in your data. So you can just use a select statement and get the result that you're looking for. We are going to talk about the where clause. It's a special keyword in SQL that helps us narrow down the rows that we are working on. So right now we know how to select a column and retrieve all the rows in that specific column. But you might think if you have millions and millions of data in your database, how selecting a table is helpful. That's where the where clause come in to help us. Let's imagine that we have a website and we have a couple of thousand active users. And as a good business, we want to wish a happy birthday to our users. So one of the ways that we can achieve that, we can run a query and retrieve all the dates of birth of our users. But that's not efficient. The other way is that we can check today's date and we can check in our database a matching month and a date. And from there we can find the exact users that have birthday today and we can send them happy birthday wishes. So the where keywords basically helps us to narrow our select statement. You should know that the where keyword is not limited to select only. It can work with update and delete statements also. So let's do a couple of examples together to understand the where keyword a little bit more. So let's say we want to find employees that have salary of 50,000. We can use this statement. We can use select star from employees. Then we write where salary equals 50,000. So let's try together in our actual database. Once again, we type select star from employees where salary equals 50,000. And we can see that we only get the employees that have salary of 50,000. Okay, but let's say that we don't want that extra stuff. We only want the first name, last name, and the salary amount. To achieve that, we can do this. Select first name, comma last name, comma salary from employees where salary equals 50,000. And now you can see that we only get the first name, last name, and the salary. We can even make it better. Let's say we want employees that have salary of 50,000, but we only want to retrieve the first name and the last name. We don't want to retrieve the salary amount. So we can even do this type of statements. Select first name, comma last name from employees where salary equals 50,000. So how this statement works, when we run this query, SQL will start from looking where salary equals 50,000 and then it's gonna jump to selecting the first name and the last name from that found data. So before we finish with this lecture, let's look one more time at the slides. So as we now know, we use where keyword to narrow our columns down. And it's important to note that we are not limited by checking numbers only. We can check a name, we can check addresses, we can do anything. So actually, let's do one more where we check last name. Okay, let's select first name, comma last name, comma salary from employees where the last name equals. And as you remember, we have to use quotes if we are referring to VARCHAR. And as you can see here, we have it, our employees with the last name of Wilson. Thank you for finishing this lecture. See you in the next one.